Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course Canada. You know we love you, Canada. But Big C, there's still nobody I love more than all the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys? Yeah.
It's a gorgeous, beautiful day. Everybody's alive. You know, we're waiting on the next great sports trade to come along here in baseball. We're going to see if Aaron Judge can get out of his 9-game home run slump out there in Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
Normally after the All-Star game, those guys expend so much energy in those home run derbies.
Yeah.
They just have little left coming back their first couple weeks after that break.
Well, Big C, we know that's the case also. And today, a beautiful July the 20th, a lot of times people expend themselves trying to hit home runs in the home run derby. People don't realize he hit 56 home runs in the home run derby. Even though it was not a live game, it was exhibition, it takes a lot out of you. If every swing is going for a home run, you know, as an athlete, Big C, you got to have work days, you got to have off days, and sometimes it takes a long time to come back from hitting 56 over the fence. I do want to say a lot of things happening in the world of sports. Big C, Blake Griffin, tell me how many championships he's won. 5-year, $175 million, Big C, your thoughts? I was trying to Google it, but I can't find it.
I don't think he remembers if he won one in college.
Yeah.
And we know he hasn't seen an entire NBA season, I don't think, in his entire career.
No.
But, you know, it shows the value of free agency. It's not the value of great players. It's the value of free agency. When people think that they have to have something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you were down about that new Mercedes last week. You felt you had
Hey, that was a gift. That was given to me.
Oh, my bad. Okay. But, you know, when people feel they have to have something because somebody else has it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that old analogy of keeping up with the Joneses. That's what the NBA has changed.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's like, oh, he gave this guy a couple $100 million. Well, let's do that also.
Yeah.
And without having proven anything. And, you know, I love the analogy on all the sports shows where you got to lock this guy up.
For what?
You lock it up. You lock up another 10 seasons of losing?
Yeah.
I mean, how long has Carmelo Anthony been locked up?
Yeah.
His entire NBA career.
Yeah.
You know, he scored a lot of points, but that's it.
Yeah. I tell you, it's all fear, the love, and war. And like Don King said, only in America. Don King knew something that we didn't know, Big C, because he did a lot of times behind the closed doors. And so I wish Blake Griffin luck, but I'm still in LA. I follow the West Coast all my life because I've lived out here. I still think of guys like Magic. I still think of guys like Kareem, Wilt Chamberlain, you know, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Jerry West, just a lot of great players. But when I see guys, you know, Steph Curry getting the $200 million, and obviously he has a couple championships to show. But a guy like Blake on his heels, minus $25 million, he's on his heels $26 million, and he's won nothing. I mean, congratulations getting the money, but he's won nothing. Now they're talking about Derrick Rose going to Cleveland. And again, I love guys getting money, but I'm just asking, at what's the scale now that you get a contract that's almost as large as anyone in the history of the game? What's the consideration now, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the benchmark, they took the bench away, so they just mark it on the floor right now.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, you're trying to figure out what's the scope and value of a player. There's really no scope of it, Charlton, because the superstars of the league, the teams that have led their teams to NBA titles,
Yeah.
or even into the championship round, Charlton, are not getting paid. You know, when you look at it across the slate. Well, you know, you think about the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors should have the two highest payrolls in the NBA based on the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
San Antonio should be right there in the top 5. Okay?
Yeah.
These teams, Charlton, are not paying their players what these teams that don't even make the playoffs or even get eliminated in the first round. You think about it. If you're a player on a team that gets eliminated in the first round, financially you're more valuable than a player on a team that makes it to the championship and wins it, Charlton.
Wow.
It's proven in free agency. It's like, okay, these guys made the playoffs, or these guys were 3 games short of making the playoffs, So he's worth $175 million. I think about the kid Wiggins in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Now, Minnesota has had a great history of young players. You think about it, Kevin Garnett started his career, and he had a Hall of Fame career there.
Yeah.
Kevin Love was a perennial all-star, double-double player. And they traded Love for Wiggins, the kid out of Kansas, who has gotten better each year, who this past season averaged 23 points a game. That 23 points a game on a losing team that had won 31 games now has gotten him paid $175 million, Jonathan, in a 4-year contract extension.
That's crazy.
So that's value, that you can be on a team that wins 31 games and it's worth $175 million contract extension. But you're on a team that wins an NBA title and you can't get that, Jonathan.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing, Big C. But you know, you told me the world of sports is crazy. I'm happy for them getting the money, but I'm also looking for my $175 million. I also haven't won a championship, Big C. That means I'm next. Okay, you might be doing the show by yourself tomorrow because Charlton signed $175 million for not winning. But also congratulations to them good old boys. Big C, what roles Derrick Rose might make more sense in Portland, but he won't go there because it's not a limelight city. There's talk of him going to Cleveland. He's not a good defensive player. He averaged 18 points a game, actually. People don't know that, but he didn't play a lot because he was always hurt. Backing up Kyrie Irving can be a good thing for Cleveland. It also shows that they're doing something for LeBron to have another guy that's an all-star player, but he's well past his prime, but he can dish the ball off to LeBron James, which is why anybody's going to go to Cleveland anyway, not to be the scoring leader. Does that make sense? Derrick Rose, who's often injured, a lot like Blake Griffin, going to play with the Cavaliers. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, what Derrick Rose can offer to Cleveland, Charlton, is that veteran in the backcourt who can handle and put pressure with the basketball if LeBron James needs a break.
Yeah.
When you looked at him in the playoffs, every time LeBron took a break, regardless of which series they were in, their leads evaporated.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because the other players were so used to sitting back watching LeBron be the showman out there that they forgot how to take control.
Yeah.
And so maybe if they bring in a player of a Derrick Rose caliber, even Carmelo Anthony, you have someone who's used to being the dominant player with the ball. You know, it's hard to have two alpha males on the team, and that's what you have with Kyrie and LeBron, just like you had with Durant and Westbrook and OKC.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is understanding your role, even if you're an alpha male.
Yeah.
There's one alpha and two alpha.
Yeah.
And you know that LeBron is number one wherever he is, but Kyrie at times gets a little strong-headed with the ball, just like Westbrook did at OKC.
Yeah.
So if you have that third guy that you can feed off of, like Miami when they had Chris Bosh.
Yeah.
He was an alpha male in his career in Toronto. He went to Miami and did not mind being a subordinate because he knew what it would bring to him.
Yeah.
That's what you get with older players, Charlton. These young guys that are being drafted into the NBA now the last couple of years, none of these guys want to take a second seed to anybody.
Yeah.
They all are star and have star written, and the media's made stars of them.
Oh, yeah.
They can't dribble. They still walk around with a pacifier in their mouth, but the media's made perennial all-stars out of them. This is the next great sliced bread that we're going to get in the NBA. Oh, by the way, 10 years later, he still hasn't won a championship.
And I think it's a funny thing, and people can Google this. The players in the offseason of being traded, nearly $2.5 billion in contracts have been renegotiated. And that's good because it's black talent, but it's not coming from black hands writing in the dimes because the owners are Caucasian. That's just the way the history is shaped up. The reason I say that is they've always had the money to give. They've never given it. I mean, even Golden State, their new stadium going to be the Chase Center, open in 2019 over in San Francisco, just 4 blocks south of McCovey Cove in the new AT&T Park. Almost 20 years old now in San Francisco, still a new ballpark. But that's where the new Chase Center is going to be in San Francisco for the Warriors. They're selling PCLs, which are seat licenses. I think they're the only team in the NBA franchise to do that. And they're going to cut their attendance by about 2,000 seats, but they're going up on prices. It's a genius move, Big C, because they have the money in Silicon Valley to do it. But is that good for basketball, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Thompson, you're taking the game away from the fans. You know, it's getting more and more difficult for just the average sport fan to go to any sporting event. It doesn't make any difference, baseball, basketball, hockey, football.
Yeah.
Because these games have become corporate-centered.
Yeah.
When you look at each stadium now, Charlton, and arena is being built with more and more luxury boxes.
Yeah.
Fans don't buy buy the luxury boxes. And you think about this new stadium, personal seat license, where you have to buy it for 30 years.
Yeah.
You think about it. Not just go in and buy it for a season or 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
You have to purchase that ticket for 30 years, purchase that seat. That's not the ticket. Then you have to buy a ticket on top of that. So if I'm a 50-year-old fan, 55-year-old fan, and I want a seat, I got to spend a 30-year contract, which is basically the mortgage on a house for a seat. Okay?
Yeah.
Oh, at the end of the 30 years, they're going to give you that money back that you paid for the seat without interest? That's the key, Charlton. So not only are they getting the public funds to build the new arena, then they're going to charge the public to come into the arena, and they're going to reduce the seats of just the average ticket sales, Charlton, by 12,000, okay?
Yeah.
So those people will only be able to come to the arena, only 12,000 now from 14,500 to 12,000.
Yeah.
That you can buy a ticket at the box office.
Yeah.
Because corporate is going to own so many seats.
They're getting their money.
In this new arena.
Yeah.
Where they get their money from, saying, well, it's a corporate entity.
Yeah.
What happened to Joe Fan? It's like, I remember as a kid when I could go to a stadium and stand at the tunnel, Charlton, whether it was baseball or a football game, because basketball wasn't that big of an entity back then.
Yeah.
And get an autograph, get a chin strap, get a sweatband, anything from a player, they would do that.
Yep.
Now, if you take your kid to a game, the rest of the family don't eat for the week.
You know what's funny when you say that? I recall when I was a little boy back in the day sneaking into Candlestick Park down there in San Francisco, Hunters Point, because it wasn't completely sealed off, and there were ways to get in because it wasn't the security issues that we have nowadays. So, and this may, maybe some people don't care what I'm going to say, but basketball is a black man's game, and I know that may not be popular to say, but that's a fact. But how many young black kids are going to be priced out of going to see a game that black men have made a $1 billion industry? The average, it's just a fact, the average African-American family is not going to go buy PSLs. They're not going to spend $300 for a cheap ticket to go see Golden State play. And the fact that they're putting this in an area where a lot of people of color just are being priced out. Now, I'm not trying to sound like I don't know economics. I understand that. But at some point, you got to stop turning your back on your fan base because think about it. And I was talking to an athlete the other day. The only reason his kids live in an upper class community is because his dad makes upper class money. But had his dad not make upper class money, and the way society has evolved, a lot of African Americans don't make the kind of money where they can go out and invest, $30,000 a year into a sports franchise, Big C. And I think that's a shame that they don't have some money set aside for the people who have been in those communities who supported that team when they were in Oakland to go across the bay. So they say, well, they're only moving 10 miles across the bay. No, they're moving a universe away because a lot of people that live in those Oakland neighborhoods, they can't go across the bay and plunk down $30,000 a year for the Warriors. Is that just not even part of the thinking anymore, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, it's not. The layman fan has been forgotten about. It's almost as ownership and broadcast networks feel that we own you. You have to do as we say.
Yeah.
And you think about, especially Oakland, this is a city that has supported the A's, they supported the Warriors, and they supported the Raiders.
Yeah.
And now they're being abandoned by 2 of these organizations. The Raiders in 2 years are going to go to Las Vegas. The Warriors in 2 years are going to go to San Francisco. You're going to be left with a hollow area of society there in the East Bay.
Yeah.
You think about it's not the most economically friendly environment now.
Right.
You take 2 stable franchises out of that environment. Charlton, you have to deal not only with loss of economics, but depression. And we know what depression does in society. It leads people to do things that they should not normally do.
Yeah.
That is the biggest problem that these 2 franchises moving creates. The economic is bad. Everybody knows that. But the depression that it's going to create in that society without having something that you look forward to at any point of the year, via the Raiders or the Warriors, where you almost had a loop year round.
Yeah.
That these things that you have grown up on are now gone, taken away from you, and most likely forever this time.
Yeah.
And so that's what the recovery process is. No one looks at the psychological damage that's done on this area. They'll look at the economical damage, but no one is looking at the psychological damage of people.
Yep, I think that's a very good point, Big C. I want to say that sports is a $1 billion industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to that billion-dollar industry. And for every sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports on iHeartRadio. If you reach out to them, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, I want to take a little sidekick here, a little exit up the highway. And I think I heard that Donald Trump, number one, when we come to the ACAs, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, he said let people die by saying let it fail. That's all. That's a euphemism for saying let people die. He doesn't care. A lot of those people he's saying let die are his constituents. Well, now, because of all these investigations, and we've been talking about this for the past 7 months, you and I, on Big C Sports, once they get the connection that he owns 19% in the Russian bank, that's when impeachment will start. Not that I'm wishing for it, but that's just a fact. Walter Cronkite said that first. But they're looking into his finances now, and he's saying he's going to fire everybody if they do that. He can't fire Congress, Big C. What are they going to find when they look into his finances? They're going to find that his son already told him they don't need American banks. They get that money from Russia, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, he made a statement, to the New York Times, New York Post, that he would fire, investigator Mueller if he looked into his family's finances.
Yeah.
Now, this is a threat. This is an obstruction of justice. This is a criminal act by a president.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You can't say these things. But this is where he is. If you look into my family's finances, I will fire you.
Yeah.
Now, if he does that, all hell will finally break loose in Washington. There's not a Republican that will stand behind him at that point.
Yeah.
Impeachment proceedings will start. But this is a president. Today, Charlton, is his 6th anniversary of his inauguration, okay?
Yeah.
The 6th anniversary. I have not seen one piece of major legislature in 6 months of a presidency that affects America in any kind of way.
No.
He came in with all this knowledge of what he was going to do. And nothing has been done in 6 months. So all you constituents of the president love him. Keep loving him. But for 6 months, you've been lied to.
Yeah.
You've been hoodwinked. And we have received nothing that has benefited American society. He is going to say, well, the stock market. How many average Americans own stocks, Charlton, in the stock market, okay?
Yeah.
How many average Americans are benefiting? That's a corporate deal, the stock market. That's corporate America. And really, tech stocks are number one that's running us. Donald Trump has nothing to do with tech. That is just working.
Yeah.
That's a worldwide thing. But I want the layman American to show me where the jobs have come into America in 6 months. They say, just give him a chance. We've had 6 months.
Yeah.
If you stand in the unemployment line for 6 months, you go say, hey, nothing's going on. I haven't got anything.
Yeah, that's
what has happened right now with Donald Trump as president.
Yeah.
America has stood in the unemployment line for 6 months
Yeah.
without any results.
Well, I tell you, Big C, a lot of things happen in the world of sports, but you got to pay attention to the Fortune 500, S&P 500. You got to know what's going on in Washington because that does affect all the jobs that we have. And back into the highway of sports, Big C, the LA Dodgers, winners of 31 of their last 35 games. Big C, they're about to break their record. They won 105 games back in 1953 when they were the Brooklyn Dodgers. What is it about the Dodgers that makes them so hot right now, even though they haven't won the World Series since 1988? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is a team that has stayed relatively healthy. That is the key. If we go back to the Cubs last season, it was a team that stayed relatively healthy, other than the loss of Schwarber, who came back in the World Series. But when you're playing like the Dodgers are, they got some young, hot bats.
Oh, yeah.
Mixed in with some veterans. A veteran pitching staff that they got some starters that can get you 7 innings any start. And that's the key, is that you don't have to heavily rely on your bullpen in Major League Baseball, because when you can't get your starters past 6,
Yeah.
you're going to have a problem in that 8th and 9th inning.
Yeah.
The Dodgers haven't faced that this year. And they're on pace, like you said, to get their 105-win streak.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll get there, because once they get to late September, Charlton,
Yeah.
they're going to have some meaningless games where they're going to be trying to rest some starters, and that's what all good coaches and managers do.
Yeah.
They know when you have a division sewed up, let's get ready for the next phase.
Yeah, see, that's...
And getting ready for the next phase, if those young players can't keep those bats hot, they won't reach that record pinnacle.
Well, Big C, we know, I'm going to tell you, a lot of things happening in the world of L.A. Did the Rams, maybe I didn't find this right, but did the Rams get a new quarterback, a backup quarterback, another guy that hasn't won anything? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Jonathan, they signed Dan Orlovsky, okay? A veteran. backup out of University of Connecticut from about 8 years ago, who's most recently played with the Lions.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, this guy's ineptitude. You know, he's running, scrambling in the end zone. He just runs out of the end zone, not knowing where he is, not knowing where he is on the
Yeah.
field. Think about that.
Yeah.
You're an NFL quarterback, and as they say, these white quarterbacks are so serious.
Yeah.
And understanding of the game is that they're cognizant of everything.
Yeah.
But here's a guy standing in the end zone, just runs out of the back of the end zone because he doesn't understand that the end zone is 10 yards deep.
Yeah.
Even though he took the snap at the 7-yard line.
But
you know, you signed this guy, the Rams. I mean, this is a team that if anybody needs a veteran backup quarterback who's played Colin Kaepernick, he would be fit with the Rams. I mean, they got the young kid, Jared Goff, who you hope the best for, but he hasn't shown any signs that he has a grasp of what the NFL is.
No.
And, you know, even hurting Colin Kaepernick's cause even more was Michael Vick. I mean, we got a convicted criminal coming in telling other black players how they should look.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, how was he wearing his hair at the dog fights? You know, did he
Wow.
have an afro at the dog fights, or did he have a cornrow?
That's a
And he
good
had them all the
point.
time.
That's a good point.
You know, Michael Vick didn't talk about his improprieties that, you know, hey, I'm a criminal.
No.
But I'm going to tell a guy who hasn't committed any criminal acts how he should behave and how he should look. But see, Charleston, as bad as Michael Vick sound and all these media outlets want to talk about him, who in the hell gave Michael Vick a mic?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
ESPN gave him a mic.
Yeah.
Fox gave him a mic. You know, Dan Patrick gave him a mic. Everybody is giving
Michael Vick
a microphone.
Yeah.
Saying, okay, Michael Vick, here, you'll be the spokesperson for black athletes in the NFL because you're a convicted felon who has spent time in prison, who did not graduate college. You know it all.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You go out here and tell the rest of the black athletes how they should be just like you.
Well, Big C, that's a very good point that you bring up, and obviously, you know, he did come out and apologize today because he didn't think it was gonna be listened to by that many people. But
coming out in an apology, okay, that's like somebody saying, "I didn't mean to get you pregnant."
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah,
man, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, he tried to throw him under the bus, and then he realized people were actually listening, and he came out and apologized for that. I do want to ask you, like, one more thing about Big C. I wasn't aware the British Open was being played. It started today. Jordan Spieth and Dustin Johnson are the favorites in that, but the favorite hasn't won in the past 7 tournaments. I did see some footage of it on TV. I think some of the fans forgot that it started also. There was about 55 people in the seats. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, as we say, the Tigerless world of the PGA.
Yeah.
As much as people want to hate Tiger, they loathe Tiger because he's not there to bring that excitement.
Yeah.
You know, Jordan Spieth goes out and shoots a 5 under today,
Yeah.
which is a tremendous round of golf and Open. But, you know, when was the last time that a guy led the Open from start to finish? It just doesn't happen, Dalton, because of the wind over there and that tough, hard course and those bunkers that are ridiculous. Anything can happen from day to day, from shot to shot.
Yeah.
In the British Open. So, but you know, it just lets you know the lackluster's of golf. It's coming off the heels of Wimbledon.
Yeah.
You know, a great tournament that was held over there on that lawn and grass course over there, Charleston.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful setting. And then you go to the Open. You know, everybody had that feel at Wimbledon. Now you go to the Open, and like you said, 55 people showed up today. and so,
Yeah.
you know, what does golf has as a draw?
Yeah.
You know, the biggest thing golf has as a draw right now, Charlton,
Yeah.
is announcers talking about what the golfers are wearing.
Yep.
The game,
Yep.
what they're wearing.
And Big C, and I thought that when I was watching it was just the practice round. So maybe it was just the practice round, but it's just a shame. But obviously they'll try to promote it the best they can. I do want to say this one more time. This segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, I'm running it by a second time because we want to talk about what we've been on this week. We talked about the Pac-12, best running backs in the history of the Pac-12. You came up with Marcus Allen. And then we also talked about the best running backs in the history of the SEC. And you came up with Herschel Walker. No one could go wrong with those two guys. But now we're going up into Bo Schembechler and Archie Griffin territory. Your thoughts on the best running backs in the history of the Big Ten, and we can even toss in Penn State because Franco Harris, when he played there, they were an independent. Big C, your thoughts on the best running backs in the history of the Big Ten Conference?
You know, Penn State, joined that conference late, as you say, Johnson, and they had 3 outstanding running backs in their history. A few Heisman Trophy winners. You had John Cavalletti. You had, Franco Harris, as you spoke about, winner of 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
These guys were great running also look at the conference as it existed in its older days. Jim Otis at Ohio State, Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
Archie Griffin at Ohio State, the first two-time Heisman Trophy winner.
Oh, yeah.
Really the only player to have done that. You think about Eddie George, another Heisman Trophy winner at Ohio State. And I'll keep the ball rolling with Eddie George, Charles, because I think he may have been the most dominant runner to ever come out of the Big Ten.
Oh, really?
Think about his illustrious college and pro career. This was a dominant horse, Charlton.
Yeah.
6'4", 235 pounds, had speed and power and grace. He came into the NFL as a rookie with the Houston Oilers, who's had a lot of success drafting running backs. Matter of fact, they've had 3 Heisman Trophy winners on that franchise roster.
Yeah.
They had Billy Cannon out of LSU, Earl Campbell out of Texas, and Eddie George, who was the latest. And Eddie George, of all those running backs, had the most illustrious career.
Yeah.
In the NFL out of the Big Ten. When you think about it, he's a Hall of Fame caliber running back, Jonathan. Also participated in a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Ended his NFL career with well over 13,000 yards rushing. Just a dominant force for the Oilers. Finished up his career with the Dallas Cowboys. Did not finish his career in Houston because he had moved on to Tennessee. But when you think about what Eddie George did, he played under Earl Bruce at Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
Earl Bruce. And Ohio State has just always been a factory of great players in the Midwest. And you look at the players that surrounded him. You had, Galloway, the wide receiver.
Jerry Galloway, yep.
The speed merchant.
Yeah.
And so, Corey Stringer at offensive tackle. Just super talent at Ohio State during that time. But Eddie George played football the way that you wanted to play it. He was just a workhorse, Charlton.
Yeah.
You never saw him get in trouble. He played every down. He was a throwback running back.
Yeah.
But his pro career was just illustrious. You think about the game he had in the Super Bowl against the Rams when they came up a yard and a half short on that Dyson catch.
Yeah.
With the late Steve McNair playing quarterback.
Yeah.
But, he went to Tennessee, and he helped carry that franchise and keep that franchise strong. They played in one of the greatest playoff games in NFL history when you think about it. When they had that throwback pass, and everybody knew it was a lateral, but they went on to beat the Buffalo Bills with in that playoff game, the Music City Miracle.
Yep, that's right.
But just a tremendous player, Charlton, in college. One of the top all-time rushers in Ohio State history, Heisman Trophy winner, who did it with class and character. Went on to have a very illustrious pro career with the Houston Oilers, finishing up with the Dallas Cowboys, Charlton. And one day, we'll see him in Kent in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Well, Big C, that's a very good point. Also some players that have had Lorenzo White over the years. I remember him out in the Rose Bowl. They've also had a Monty Ball played back in 09 and 12. And also a player, Ron Dane is considered also one of the better running backs in the history out of the Big Ten Conference, or Big 19 as you call it, Big C. They have so many schools.
Think about it. On Ron Dane, Charlton.
Yeah.
Ron Dane was college football's all-time leading rusher up until this last season, until the kid out of San Diego State broke his record. Herman, I believe his name was.
Yeah.
But Ron Dane had amassed some over 6,300 yards rushing while he was at Wisconsin under Brett Bielema as head coach, and they've always had an illustrious history of running backs there. At Wisconsin. But as far as a dominant conference runner, that was Ron Dane. But the kid who took it all, just not from the conference, but to escalate his career in pro football, Charlton, was Eddie George.
Well, Big C, that's a very good point. I want to ask you as we close out on the best running backs in the history of the Big Ten Conference. Tomorrow we'll touch on more of the Southwestern Conference. I know they've expanded since a lot of those schools have gone into the SEC, but we'll get your thoughts on that tomorrow. But I want to finish by closing out with this. Tell me you think the influence that two iconic coaches, Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler, had on shaping that conference as a running football conference, because now they're more known for the spread that Ohio State is running, also Michigan's running. Talk about the legacy, if you will, with the great Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler and their desire to run the football up there in the cold. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, and a lot of that, what you just spoke about, the elements derived describe what type of offense that you would run in that Big Ten conference. And, you had a lot of big corn-fed boys that they had in that conference. And that's the type of players they look for, that hard, straight-nosed player.
Yeah.
You got to understand, when both of those men became the head coaches in that conference, Johnson, they weren't heavily laden with African-American athletes.
That's true.
So you did a lot of running in between the tackles, and that's what created that scenario, 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Yeah.
Because most white running backs couldn't get further than 3 yards.
Yeah.
So, that's how that came about. As they incorporated through integration, Charlton, and more African-American athletes, because you start seeing teams running the sweep, running the toss plays.
Yeah.
The traps. This is what, modern-day football as we see it was desegregation.
Yeah.
Because once you brought speed into the game, you no longer was confined between the hash marks, Johnson. You could spread it out. You could widen the gaps with the offensive linemen. And that's what Bo Schembechler as well as Woody Hayes saw over time. But also, Johnson, with the athleticism that came about, they weren't able to adapt as quickly as other teams were.
Yeah.
Who, integrated their teams much quicker. And so the game really went past both of those coaches, especially Woody Hayes.
Yeah.
When the game got to a point that he saw that he could not go out and field a team that was 85% white any longer and dominate, the game got to him and it was time for him to go. And when Earl Bruce came to Ohio State, you saw the transition.
Yeah.
After Woody Hayes was gone, where it became more predominant African-American players on the Ohio State roster, and it continued with Jim Tressel. And so these coaches adapted, and we see what Jim Harbaugh has done since he's taken over there at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Lloyd Carr has made the transition from Schembechler, but the transition from Harbaugh now to the African-American dominant roster, you really see the new face of the Big Ten with 19 teams in the conference.
Big C, that's a very good point. Your 19 teams. I love the way you do math down south. Big C, we started talking about a lot of things in the world of sports, and we talked about the obviously Blake Griffin getting $175 million over 5 years. Where would Derrick Rose go? We don't know. The Dodgers winning 31 of the last 35 games. The British Open, the LA Rams getting a new quarterback, and we talked about the best running backs in the history of the Big Ten. I do want to take the last 2 minutes just to ask you what everybody's talking about. O.J. Simpson, one of the best iconic football players in the history of college football in the NFL, over 2,000 yards. Aside from what happened with all the court garbage, I just want to ask your impression on the world of sports as a performer in sports. If he was a guy that only rushed for 200 yards in his history of a season, not 2,000, we wouldn't be having this talk today. Just give me a thought as an African-American and how much we all have to go through. What just your thought on the situation, how everybody covered OJ as if it was the British Open. Maybe that's what happened to the British Open. Everyone was covering if OJ would get out or not, Big C. Your thoughts in the last 2 minutes on that, Big C.
Well, Charles, let me throw in a couple of names for you, okay?
Yeah.
Lawrence Phillips, all right?
Yeah.
Former NFL running back, was in prison. Ray Caruth, former NFL wide receiver, in prison, all right?
Yeah.
No one is paying attention to this. OJ's fascination comes from the white media, okay?
Yeah.
It's not black media out there putting OJ all over the papers and the news stations. It's white media. It's white's love affair with wanting to hang a black man.
Yeah.
Let me tell you the reason why OJ got off, Charlton.
Yeah.
If those cops who beat Rodney King years ago had been convicted, had not been let off,
yeah,
OJ would not have been let off. Okay?
I think you're right about that.
But this is a twist of society. White society let off the white cops for beating Rodney King. And everybody watched this beating for a couple of minutes on television.
Yeah.
And the cops said that he was threatening their lives and attacking them, okay? But everybody watched him being down on the ground, beaten worse than a dog.
Yeah.
Okay? It showed that society did not trust the LAPD.
Yep.
And all white society did not want this trial held downtown, where LAPD has been notorious.
Yeah.
They wanted it to be held out in one of the valleys that were predominantly white.
Simi Valley.
Regardless of the composition of the jury, anybody has an opportunity to have a jury of their peers.
Yeah.
That's what OJ got. But the fascination with OJ today, just like in 1994, 95, Charlton, is through the lenses of white media.
Yeah.
We saw a couple of documentaries last year about OJ, produced by the white media, Charlton.
Yeah.
So as long as the white media wants to make OJ popular, OJ will always be popular. You gotta look out there. How many black news outlets are there? They're not, okay?
Yeah.
So OJ's popularity or unpopularity will come through the lenses of white media. I'm not being racist. I'm being factual.
They can Google it.
Turn on any of these networks, see who they're owned by.
Yeah.
See how often OJ gets covered. He was on Everybody today, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Everybody. Okay? Blacks didn't go out. You didn't see any black reporters
No.
covering OJ?
No.
I didn't see any. In the press conference, they were all white and Asian sitting in there.
Yeah.
The fascination with OJ comes from the part of society that despise black. Period.
Yeah.
It's not just about OJ. This is a story about race in America.
Yeah.
When you show me whites getting off for killing and saying, well, it was justifiable, nobody's talking about George Zimmer.
No.
Or Trayvon Martin.
No.
That's a quiet story. And everybody knows the man killed this young black man.
Yeah.
We see young black Americans killed all the time by white Americans. There's no fascination from the media. No one's talking about Dylan Roof walking in killing 9 people in a church.
Nope.
We don't hear about that anymore. These are not stories that are covered. But there was a heinous crime that was committed in Los Angeles over 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
2 people lost their lives, and we never wish that on anybody.
Of course.
But this is a fascination by the white media wanting to have sensationalism. This is a real-life tragedy on every side, but this is the sensationalism that America is gripped by. OJ will be in the media every day starting October 1st.
Yeah.
Okay? And he'll be in the media the rest of this week. But every day starting October 1st, someone will find a way to put OJ on television, whether it's through a selfie in a
Yeah.
in a cell phone or something. But the media will pick up and cover it. And white America will stay fascinated with it, Jonathan. Period.
And just watch the people who sponsor those programs. And Colin Kaepernick still can't get a job standing up for Black Lives Matter. But every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. We always want to say there's never, ever any reason for domestic violence. If you know any woman or man going through that garbage, just call 911, because no one should have to go through that garbage all on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.